Hey, what's up guys? Coach Peters here. Today I want to talk a little bit about the hierarchy of athletic development. And this is what we use here at BC Strength in terms of our guiding philosophy when it comes to long-term development. It was originally brought on by Vermeil. If you know Dick Vermeil, the famous coach back in the day, Indianapolis Colts and many others, his brother is Vermeil. And Vermeil is known as one of the best strength coaches to ever live. He's the only strength coach to have got a ring in the NFL as well as in the NBA. So he's got quite a lifetime achievement when it comes to in performance training and in the weight room. So essentially what he believes and what he taught is this hierarchy of athletic development. And really what it's doing is addressing the problem of progression, right? We've all kind of been or heard about the New Year's resolutions that begin with some really strong and really great effort, and we kind of go in, let's say you get 2 miles on the treadmill for 3 days a week, and you do that, all of a sudden, hey, first month you're starting to look good, we're getting better. The second month comes along, we're doing the same thing, all of a sudden we hit our famous plateau, right? And then a little bit later, we start even getting worse. It's like, hey, I'm doing the same thing, I'm still grinding, I'm waking up 3 days a week, and I'm going and getting after it, but essentially there's no progression, right? We're doing the same thing all the time, and you create that plateau. Right? What is the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. Well, the same is true when it comes to training. So to address that problem, right, to avoid plateaus, we have to find a progression in our training, and it can't just be straight linear either. You can't say, okay, for 2 months I'm gonna do 3 days a week, and then 2 months then I'm gonna do this and that, and you just continually do that forever. The body will eventually break down and start taking on injuries. So we gotta have a plan as to move forward. And so to do that, Coach Vermeil built this hierarchy, right? We wanna start somewhere, but it also gives us a roadmap as to where to go. We can input our specific goals and put those in, but at the same time, not spend too much time on it. And we're only doing the same thing all the time, and then all of a sudden we get another plateau. So this hierarchy essentially creates or helps us to build that roadmap. So regardless of your goal, we need to spend time in each of these phases throughout the year. If you want to go out and you want to run a marathon, you got to spend a little bit of time in speed. You got to spend some time building explosiveness. That marathon record was broken just last year, right, or a little while ago, and a big part of his training was building explosiveness, so that every step he took, he essentially went a little bit longer. So he could take the same amount of steps, but he's traveling farther with each, right? So there's value in each phase and there's value in each ability, regardless of what your end goal may be. If not, to only avoid plateaus, right? And avoid injury. So we must build throughout your annual plan, right? We kind of start somewhere, but we got to have everything involved. And we notice in this class, this is really the progression that we take. We're going to start at the bottom. We're going to build our base, right? We do our PST test in our testing. In athletics, it's very important to set the tone, right? Where's our attitude at? Are we ready to take on what we're about to take on? As we all know, building a training routine is not something that you just jump in nonchalant, right? It's something that you got to set your mind for. So understanding what it is we're getting into, setting your mind for it, and then testing ourselves physically, right? We'll have nowhere, we talked about that in our first week of orientation. We never know where we're gonna go. We'll never be able to build an appropriate map as to where we wanna go if we don't know where we're at now, right? We gotta take that first step. And this is what helps guide us. As we then move forward, we go into work capacity or GPP, and that's what we're at right now, right? We're building our base with this GPP. We're trying to train so that later we can train more the higher advanced training styles later. We're building our base, right? It's very fundamental, foundational in nature, where we don't want to get too crazy, but we really want to kind of sweep the corners a little bit, right? So then, as we build that, we build general abilities. We build stability and torso strength. We then want to start adding weight. We want to start adding load, right? We're going to actually build real strength after that. And that's really, once we get our movement patterns down, our next phase is going to be that. We're going to work on whether it be maximal strength or really, really heavy absolute strength, or we even have dynamic forms of strength as well, which we'll talk about later, right? So, and we really want to emphasize our core lifts when we get to that strength emphasis. Next, we have our explosive phase, right? As we built a little bit of strength, then we want to add a little bit of speed to that strength. We want to increase what we call rate of force development. The rate at which we develop that force is what we then want to increase, right? So we have a base level of strength that we've increased. Now, let's try and make that a little bit faster. And our Olympic lifts are really gonna help to do that, or different throws, med ball throws are a good way to build that base explosive, quick power generating ability. Next is gonna be our reactive strength, right? So the muscles tend to act like rubber bands, and our ability to store energy and then spring that energy back through our muscles and up through the body is what we're gonna be building here, right? In our reactive side. So jumps, hops, bounding, little things like that, or big things like that, are really gonna be your friend, whether it be over hurdles or boxes, you name it, right? So building reactive, quick change of direction type of drills is really where we're gonna be at there. Finally, as we get to the very top, we got our speed work. So we get out, it should be programmed first, right? You know how far you're gonna run, you give it all you got, give yourself plenty of rest time, right? We're working in the alactic phase. We want to be able to sprint, right? It's kind of an oxymoron to go out and say, all right, run 20-yard sprints with a 10-second rest in between. If you're gonna sprint, you gotta allow yourself to sprint, right? So managing the time that we get in between those is really gonna help you find success there and operate at the highest level, because that's what really this whole thing is, right? It's from low intensity to high intensity. It's building the ability for the body to take on higher forces at higher speeds as we progress, right? So make sure we check this out, right? Spend some time understanding and think about how it is that I'm gonna use this in my own training. Again, whether or not I wanna go out and build my vertical, right? Or build my bench press or run a marathon. There's a certain progression to it. So how do you kind of build in your goal from a broader view, right? Understanding all the other little pieces that we gotta add into it. So this is our hierarchy of athletic development.